Hey everyone, it's Amanda Rieger Green. Welcome to Soul Sessions. I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here. It's such a delight to be able to connect. And I know we are all in different locations and we're far away from each other, but I love the community that's built and I can feel your energy. I want you to know how much I appreciate the heart centered growth that comes out of each and every one of you because it inspires me. You inspire me, and we get to inspire each other. So, wherever you are right now in your journey, trust that you are divinely timed and right where you're supposed to be. And whatever growth spurt you are feeling, mind, body, spirit, know that you are being fine tuned. We are being fine tuned, and it's tough. It is tough stuff, and it's nuanced. For many of us out there who have been on our spiritual and personal growth journey, the nuances come in emotions and the mind, the tricks of the mind, the emotional upheaval. So it's tricky stuff to navigate, but what I've been doing, and I hope this helps you a little bit, is I keep saying, I'm surrendering to the mystery. I'm surrendering to the mystery. And it's like something about that. It's like I'm surrendering to that mystery. Like I'm going with the flow of the universe versus trying to fight against it or argue with it or make it just right in my timing right now. When I feel that tension and that need to have everything right now and understand it, it's like surrender to the mystery, surrender to the mystery. So that's been my mantra, and maybe that's something you feel called to adopt as well. Today is the Eclipse season podcast, and I'm going to go into detail, and it may be longer, so I'm giving you the heads up on that. But I'm going to talk about the two eclipses that we experience in March of 2025. And I encourage you to listen all the way through, even if you listen in sections and however you listen to your podcast. But this is how I do it. When it's eclipse season, I go through prior to the eclipses occurring. I want to know all of the polarities, all of the energies that are coming my way, because what it does is it psycho spiritually and consciously orients me through the energy more faithfully, more easily and organically, because it's like I've got some data, I've got some energy, I'm anchoring into this. So, what I encourage you to do is listen all the way through, take your notes, or just synthesize it however you do. And then when it comes back, when we get to the Virgo eclipse, the first eclipse, listen to the Virgo portion. When we get to the Aries eclipse at the end of the month, re listen to that portion. So you are marinating in the lessons and seeing them reflected back in your personal experiences. I promise you, doing those spiritual calisthenics, like go to the gym this month. If you remember back when I started this podcast, that was my thing, is like, join me at the spiritual gym. And if you wanna go to the gym is this month. March is the gym, and into April, like, we're in the gym, right? Like, you gotta go to the gym every day, and you don't gotta, but I would encourage you to go to the gym in some way, shape, or form every day in your mind, body, soul, because it will pay out in the months ahead. And remember, we've got this. We are in this together. So, the first eclipse of the month is the Virgo full moon eclipse. It's a total lunar eclipse. It's at 23 degrees of Virgo. It happens on Friday, the 14th of March, and it happens at 2:54 a.m. Eastern time. So if you're Pacific or if you're in another part of the world, it may happen on the 13th of the month. And the reason this is important, the time, when I work with full and new moons, but especially eclipses, I do my intention setting journaling after the exact moment of the moon. So for most of us, we will go to bed in the energies, and unless you want to get up in the middle of the night, and I have certainly done that in the past many a time, but I find it very useful to go to bed in my prayer and meditation, asking the eclipse to work me from the inside out on the astral plane. And then when I get up first thing in the morning, Even if I have to set the alarm another hour earlier, I use that first light and quiet time in that liminal space for my processing, my journaling, my intention setting, my meditation. I encourage you to do that. So 2:54 a.m. Eastern Time, Friday the 14th. That is the time of the eclipse on the 14th, 23 degrees of Virgo. So that means the moon is at 23 degrees of Virgo and the sun is at 23 degrees of Pisces. I would definitely figure out where both of those, the sun and the moon, is in your natal chart, what houses this is falling in, and what polarities besides Virgo and Pisces it is activating in your house system, because that gives you a better, it more fine-tuned, refined areas that the eclipse is triggering over the course of the next 6 months. Because remember, an eclipse is basically the start point and it unfolds in the 6 months ahead. And this is a full moon eclipse. So this is about closure. It is a season of a cycle of closure over the following 6 months. And I have said this before, but I love Virgo full moons. One of my favorite full moons of the year and the new moon is the Virgo full moon. And I'm a full-on Libra. I got some Virgo in my chart, but what I love about it, it's about getting down to business, initiating and closing out things, because eclipses are about beginnings and endings, but it is a cycle of closure around something, and taking action on Virgo full moons is where the juice is. And it's practical action and coming from a place that is oriented towards your health, wellness, and well being. And that can literally be your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health. Because remember, the polarity is Virgo, the literal practical world, day to day life and routines, and Pisces, the mystical, the spiritual, the transcendent, the bigger love, the higher love. I listened to that song, Bring Me a Higher Love, and there are like 3 or 4 versions. There's a Whitney Houston version, there's the OG version I listen to. There's like 3 versions I have on my Spotify playlist, and I listen to all 3 of them in a row, and I literally am like, "Bring me," I'm not gonna sing it for y'all, your ears will burst. "Bring me a higher love." And, like, to me, that's what's happening right now, is we're moving into a higher octave of ourselves, and we are being confronted with the gnarly, the lower octave of ourselves and the world around us. And it's where we come from in our own heart center and the action we are willing to take and demonstrate to ourselves and to the world that will make the most significant impact. This is the full moon and full moon eclipse of initiating or closing out anything that limits your health, wellness, and well being. So if you know there are certain behaviors, addictive behaviors, whether it is sugar or a relationship or a substance, food, anything that is taking away from your health, wellness, and well being, this is the moon to take action towards the change. And the action is in the decision to change. This doesn't feel good. It's not healthy. It is limiting me in some way, shape, or form. What is the action I am willing to demonstrate to the universe for that change? Where can I clear clutter and clean house? One significant thing to point out during this eclipse, Uranus is very active, and active in an incredibly mystical and divine way. Uranus is the planet of sudden change, shock and awe, lightning bolt destruction, lightning bolt inspiration. So anything Uranus touches, it's going to be radical, right? It's not a slow burn. It's like abrupt, radical, and it's either aha, like just completely transcendent, or it will bring you to your darn knees. Uranus is in this very unique position with the sun and the moon. It's at what we call in astrology the point of Thales. And the point, when a planet is at the point of Thales, The sun and the moon are in direct opposition. And the point of Thales means Uranus is making a trine to the moon and a sextile to the sun. The trine and the sextile are positive energy flow. So Uranus is highly benevolent here, meaning there is going to be a strike of lightning during this eclipse. And it is in a tight, tight point of Thales, like by 6 minutes or something. The angle is almost perfected at the point of the eclipse. So it's pretty incredible. And Uranus is at between 23 and 24 degrees of Taurus, and Virgo and Pisces 23 degree of Virgo and Pisces. So you see it's creating this triangle, and it's like a divine triangle, and Uranus is at the apex of the triangle. Think of a pyramid. So Uranus is creating sudden change, sudden insight, and it's happening. And Uranus is electrical. It's kundalini energy. So just know that during this eclipse, there is something really radical being transformed in the energy field, and allow that radical transformation to happen. So the mantra would be, I embrace change. I'm open to change. Show me what to do in order to not fear change, to accept change, to flow with it, to get excited about change and not get stuck in a rut. Because what Uranus does is it unstucks us. I know that's not a word, but it will unstick you, and it can be prickly, right? Because it can jolt you into action. So, with the Virgo full moon eclipse, it is a time of clearing clutter. And if you've listened to me for a bit, the way I go to start clearing clutter is I get real simple and I clean something up in my literal space. And it's funny because Dennis and I are in a process of change right now and new horizons. And there are a lot of things we need to do to get our house in order, literally, so to speak. So it's funny because divinely, I was like, we need to have a garage sale and we need to get rid of some stuff. And so, do you know when I'm going to do it? Right around the eclipse. And that is going to be my action to clearing clutter. Like, but the universe aligns that way if you look for it. And I was laughing because I was like, oh, yeah, we do it on the eclipse. This is so perfect. Virgo full moon eclipse. Hello, have a garage sale. We have donated a lot of stuff already, but I'm like, there's some stuff. It's like, what do you do with this? Let's actually just do a yard sale, do a garage sale to start getting rid of some things, liquidating and then being able to donate to clear that clutter. So where can you clear clutter? On a literal level. And just remember what happens on that literal level is for me, it feels good. It feels good to organize and to clean and to simplify, but it signals something mentally, spiritually, emotionally to a reorganization, a clearing clutter in my cells, in my mind, in my heart. And a long time ago, what a friend of mine said about the Virgo full moon, it's a house cleaning of the head and the heart. And that has always stuck with me about a Virgo full moon. It is a house cleaning of the head and the heart. And it's a wonderful time to just plant a seed and give it fertilizer. Like, remember, if you plant a seed, you don't stare at it and wait for the seed to sprout, but you can water it, you can fertilize it. So the seed is, I am ready to eliminate XYZ behavior or XYZ addiction, what attitude, even judgment, because Virgo can be judgy in its shadow. And this full moon eclipse is a time to really confront your shadows. It's a big shadow work full moon, meaning look at your dark ambassadors, your dark passengers, and you know what they are, whether it's greed or doubt or shame or envy or sloth, self righteousness, self-centeredness, whatever and it may be a handful of those because hello, we're human. We got them, but which ones are rip roaring right now and keeping you from optimal health, wellness, and well-being so you can be of service? Because Virgo is about being of service. And the flip side of service is being so much of service that you're not being of service to yourself. And that's the Libra in me balancing things out, right? Because I know when I can give and give and give, and it can be a disservice because my boundaries are not healthy. And even though I think I'm giving from my heart and I want to, I may be giving because I'm afraid if I don't give, then it's tied to my worth or I'm not enough or somebody's going to be mad at me. That little child in me that's afraid of getting in trouble. So think about your shadows and really really like take some time to have some conversations with them. And I tell you what, with the darn sun in Pisces, the shadow of Pisces is freaking the dangerous neighborhood in your head and delusion, contempt prior to investigation, meaning casting stones, making assumptions, and just rattling around and living in the dangerous neighborhood in your head without really gathering the facts or understanding the truth. And you get so in the delusion that you start to believe it and live from it and behave from it. And that is as toxic as it comes because remember, Pisces is the end game of the zodiac. And all my Pisces sun, moons, risings out there, y'all are special. We're all special, but you have a heavy burden because delusion can grasp you. And it's like, and then you get overwhelmed by the weight of all the pains of the world and you internalize it rather than grounding and really gathering the facts and getting true to what is right now. And guess what the way through is? Gratitude. The way through in this moon is what do I have to be grateful for now? So, what a great moon to make a gratitude list. And I would do it all month, every single day. I am grateful that I have food in my refrigerator, or I'm grateful that I have 10 fingers and 10 toes. It is all about orienting yourself in the now and what is true and real versus getting caught up in the delusions of the mind. So it is a good moon to organize, to declutter. It's a great moon to get into gratitude that will ground you into the present. It's a wonderful eclipse to begin to tie up loose ends. Finish up projects that really are not adding value to your life, happiness, health, and well being. Think about anything that is limiting, taking away from your happiness and joy. How can you start to initiate some closure in some areas of your life and with compassion and with ease? Not like, I got to get it all done tomorrow, but oh, I think this season is coming to an end. What action can I take? And coming up with practical solutions. I think this is a moon for low hanging fruit. And I've been thinking about low hanging fruit for the last handful of months for myself. And I realized I'm not a low hanging fruit gal. Like, the way I go is, like, I'm, like, the visionary, the practical idealist. A lot of times I'm practical, but I always jump to the vision, to the ideal, to the aim, and I love that about me, right? But what do I skip over? Sometimes the low-hanging fruit, and I've been getting into low-hanging fruit mode. Like, what can I do right now that is simple, that will add value to the aim, to the higher vision, but isn't me reaching for the stars now. So think about low hanging fruit. And if you're like me and you're more visionary, it's a really good time to do things step by step and know that while it might seem small, it's adding value and it's adding energy and it's demonstrating to the universe and to yourself that you're making practical progress in one way or another. And also, where are you over investing yourself and what is the motive behind that? Where, like I was saying about being of service, where are you giving? And is that motivation truly coming from your heart? I was in a recovery thing, I don't know, like a month ago or something, and it was one of those recovery meetings for me where there were a lot of people from treatment centers, and so a lot of people just, like, down and dirty in it, in the hardest times, and I've been there, and so I have a lot of understanding and compassion for that place and a lot of gratitude for where I am today. But there was this woman, and we were talking about being of service, right? Getting out of ourselves and being of service to others. And she was like, "My greatest gift is being of service. I don't know myself by not being a mom, being a wife, being, a sister, helping older people." And she said, "I find my value through being of service to others." And while that is a beautiful thing, it's like, but what is your value when you are by yourself? Do you recognize that you are divine and worthy and beautifully made and whole just as you are? And then you get to be of service. And I had so much compassion because I get it. And we can all do that. And if you've got heavy six energy in your numerology or you're a Cancer, y'all know, I mean, I think about our healthcare providers out there and healers and how it's like we serve and give, but at some point it is really imperative to put that oxygen mask on ourselves. So the low hanging fruit here is, what does my mind, body, and spirit need in order to create optimal health and well being? Lastly, in this Virgo energy, well, a couple of things. One, being open to constructive feedback. Who do you know that will hold you to task and love you just the same, that accepts you for who you are, your dark passengers and your beautiful light? And I've got a handful of people like that in my life when I say, okay, this is coming up for me. I'm having feelings around this and I'm getting resentful. And then somebody just says, "Oh, Amanda, did you consider it was this?" And it's like, "Oh, that's what it is. But thank you." Like, I'm not defensive about it. I'm like, thank you for helping me identify that that was entitlement or that was self-righteousness or whatever it may be. And I don't get defensive. I'm like, "Eureka." So who in your life, and this is about asking for help, right? But from someone who is in a position, and the simple example is, you don't go to dating advice for somebody who's been divorced 10 times, right? So someone who is in a consciousness level, a position that you feel is wise in the area you're seeking advice, but also holds you in that sacred place and loving place to tell you the truth. This is the kind of moon for that kind of work on the shadow side of things, and to accept it so your healing can begin. Watch out for overthinking and overanalyzing, analysis paralysis, so just thinking about all this stuff, but not doing anything. That, like Virgo will get you all caught up in the details, and then you spin your wheels, or you're busy for the sake of being busy. And so finding a balance between human being and human doing, and to find your pace and trust. Remember, this is a 6-month process that you're working through. So take time, be patient. If you've got the guidebook, there are tons of journal prompts and reflections, and there's intentions around this eclipse and this moon and the Venus retrograde we have going on, and Mercury retrograde. Mercury will retrograde right around this moon. So it is a very poignant energy that really asks us to go within, to get centered still and clear, and then to take healthy action around our optimal health, wellness, and well being, whatever that may be for you. And because of Venus's retrograde and Mercury beginning to retrograde, it's it's immense because the mind will play tricks on you. There will be misinterpretations, mistrust, distrust, and then you have old toxic relationship, financial stuff coming up. It's almost like we are being initiated through something, and you know what I say, the cream rises to the top. It's about, what is my highest character and how can I act from a place of integrity versus reacting and being reflexive or shooting from the hip. Gather your data, get still, and go for the low hanging fruit, and know that that is going to be fruitful towards your higher aims, especially when you come from your heart, and trust that you're right where you're supposed to be. One thing that came up for me today, I was listening to some old Neville Goddard, who, if you don't know who Neville Goddard is, Wayne Dyer used to reference Neville Goddard all the time. And he was super wise and talked a lot about the law of attraction. But he also talked about our obstacles in life. And one of the things that he said that just reminded me is our obstacles are literally these challenges that are designed to fine tune our point of attraction. So it's learning to appreciate the challenges, the obstacles, and recognize what they're fine tuning in us so we trust in divine timing. And one of the simplest ways that I can articulate that is I know, in readings and for myself and with other people, it's like, I want to find my person. I want to find my person now. When is my person coming? And we all get that at some level, right? But it's like, but maybe the universe, your person isn't ready yet because maybe they haven't learned this lesson or they haven't moved to where they're supposed to be. You remember that it's not just about you, it's about you and your relationship to the universe. So trusting in the timing, but trust in the obstacle and what it is teaching you. Because for me and for many of us, it's usually the polarity. If I'm feeling angry or frustrated or sad or in self pity, it's the polarity. The anger is like the opposite of it is acceptance or peace. And if it's self pity, it's empowerment and sovereignty and agency. So finding what the obstacle is reflecting back to you so you can recognize what the aim is and then what's your low hanging fruit to get there. And it may just be a flip of the switch in the perspective. Because, like I said, for me, when I get constructive feedback from someone who I trust and who I know values and loves me, and they say, "Ooh, that's that self righteousness, Amanda." And I'm like, "You're right. Okay. I can surrender to that mystery and ask God, my higher power, to help me heal that because it is limiting me from optimal health, wellness, and well being and being useful." And Virgo full moons are about how am I useful? How am I useful to myself and to the world? And how can I do that a day at a time? Day to day life, health, and routines. Okay. That, my friends, is the Virgo full moon, total lunar eclipse. And remember, Mercury will be retrograding like right at the same time, basically the same day. So, Mercury is about the mind and communication. So, if there's a good time to write out your intentions, get up that morning, do your journaling, speak your intentions to the universe. Mercury's on your side, friend, even though it may be screwing some of your plans and your agendas up. Let go and let God. Surrender to the mystery. Surrender to the mystery. Remember that. All right, let's talk about the next eclipse. Okay, the next eclipse is at the end of the month and it's a little spicier. It's a little spicier than the Virgo full moon eclipse. And it is spicy. Like it's salty, it's spicy, it's got a kick to it, it's got an afterburn. It's a lot. Okay. So it's a lot. And it's like 2 entrees, okay? The Aries new moon solar eclipse is like ordering 2 entrees, like your eyes are bigger than your stomach kind of energy. So watch out for, like biting off more than you can chew and excess. First of all, Uranus is at play in this energy yet again. Uranus strikes again, and we've got some other very impactful astrology. Mars is squaring Chiron for the third and final time. And I won't go too much into that, but it happens right around the time of the full moon. This will be the third and final pass. And if you remember, Mars has been retrograde. The first one was in October. So we've had these squares, and Chiron is the wounded healer, and Mars is in Cancer, which can be passive aggressive and feely, and Mars is uncomfortable there. So we've got a lot of emotional buildup in this energy that is happening through that. Venus just before this eclipse is conjuncting Saturn. Venus is retrograde. It will be right up there against Saturn in Pisces. And like Saturn is about maturity and responsibility, and Venus is about love and beauty and relationships and finances. So there is a lot of energy, but Uranus is making a half square, so not a full square, but a half square to the sun and the moon almost exactly at the eclipse. Well, a half square, friends, is not a trine and a sextile like the last moon. A half square says, get into action, like in your face energy. It's coming in, chili pepper, ghost pepper energy that it's like, got this. I'm going to eat this pepper. And then, you're like, oh, like that's the energy. Like it's going to be hot. And guess what? It's freaking Aries. It's hot headed. There's a lot of good things about Aries, and we're going to get into that because it's fire starter energy. But untamed, it will cut you, it'll burn you, you'll react, you'll say things you didn't mean to say, you'll take actions you got to take back. And freaking Venus and Mercury are retrograde. And while this is a new moon eclipse, which is about initiation and new beginnings, remember that it's kind of paradoxical here. You are starting something because it's freaking Aries. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It is the initiator, fire starter energy, but you're still in two massive retrogrades. So you're starting something, but you're still going to be refining, reworking, revising through mid-April. So whatever you are initiating in this new moon energy, this new moon eclipse that will be unfolding over the course of the next 6 months, the next 2 weeks are paramount for revising, reviewing, and fine tuning. So you will recognize some action and momentum as we move through April and really kind of mid April forward. So just remember you're planting seeds and you're initiating, but you're still reworking and tweaking things. So it requires patience and trust. So the full moon eclipse, I don't think I stated the dates. The full moon eclipse is on March 29th and it's at 9 degrees of Aries. And if you listen to the Venus retrograde podcast, you know the significance of 9 degrees Aries because Venus touches that point and Mercury retrograde touches that point. Very important. Definitely review that. 9 degrees Aries, and it occurs at 6:58 a.m. Eastern time. So you calculate that based on where you are. It's an early morning new moon. Again, one of those grand opportunities to wake up, allow the eclipse to become exact wherever you are. And even if you're driving kids to school, can you find space at some point in the morning to really set your intentions and get clear in the energy? With Uranus having such an effect and an impact on this full moon eclipse, it is basically going to feel like the anxiety level, the intensity level, the unsettling energy is at an all-time high, but it's going to basically penetrate that. There will be some kind of either breakdown or breakthrough energy that will release the tension through the eclipse and in the unfolding in the next 6 months. It'll happen quicker than that, but that is literally what Uranus does. And I want to remind you all, because this is confusing and significant, that Neptune is at the very last degree of Pisces and about just after this new moon eclipse, about to take its first dip into Aries. And any time a planet is at the anaretic degree, the 29th degree of a sign, it is a culmination of the most beautiful qualities of that sign. And the shadow is rearing its head. And Neptune rules Pisces. So it can be extremely spiritual and transcendent and mystical, and it can be wickedly deceptive, delusional, and it can also trick you into thinking you're having a nervous breakdown or you're losing your mind or everybody's against you. So again, having community, safe space to ground you, to get your insanity out in a healthy way versus gossiping or triangulating or perpetuating, how can you get that fear and that worry? Where is your safe space to get that out? And sometimes it may be the gym, right? Like it may just be like, working your physical body out. And Aries is a physical energy. It needs to move that prana, that fire, that life force. So remember that Neptune's playing tricks. It's like the freaking Joker. Neptune's over in the sky going, are you transcending? Are you in peace? Are you in love? Are you over here plotting and scheming and everything is against you? Or are you just escaping, pulling the covers over your head and saying, I can't, I can't. Like whatever form that delusion comes in, ground, get settled and simplify. Like whatever feels healthy and practical and safe and loving to you, prioritize that at the end of this month because it'll help you move through this just divinely and safely and more sanely. For I mean, like really for all intents and purposes. We can all feel a little cray cray at times. And if there's a cray cray moon, like an eclipse, this one definitely takes the freaking cake. So with Aries, let's talk about Aries new moons and Aries new moon eclipses. Aries is about starting something. It's about our individuality, taking responsibility for ourselves, taking action. It's very action oriented. It is also about paving the path forward. And this is the imagery that comes to mind when I think about paving the way forward and I think about that low hanging fruit we talked about. Like if I have a piece of property and I want to create a pathway or a trail, it starts by walking the trail, picking up some sticks, like starting to like pave the path. And over time, the clearing appears. So think about whatever new path you are wanting to pave. And this is the eclipse to set intentions for the next 6 months. It is your I am eclipse. I am available for fill in your blanks. And I am taking healthy, practical action and owning my divine talents, capabilities, and skills. And also remembering to ask for help. Because part of Aries' shadow is me, selfishness, self centeredness, very human, right? We've all got it. And some of us more exasperated than others. But Aries forgets to ask for help. Who can I rely on rather than just myself? I know what my part is, but where do I need other people? And that's the polarity, right? That's the Libra in me reminding you to balance that polarity out. This energy is also about being bold. And when I think about boldness, which is one of those things that I've been reflecting on recently a lot, is what bold action can I take? And a lot of times it's in busting up old belief systems around, like, I create limitations in my mind. I think I'm only worthy of this, or I can't see beyond my own nose or my own vision. So, busting things up in a bold way from your perspective, where do you limit yourself in your perspective? And Aries is about initiation, ambition, and action. It's about taking action. It is not a stagnant energy. And with Aries comes impulsiveness, impulsivity. And do you remember how in the full moon eclipse energy, I talked about contempt prior to investigation? Well, Aries is notorious for that. But what I love about Aries is they freaking get stuff done. Whether it's right, wrong, good, or bad, they do. And a big shout out, my assistant Jill, who many of you know and have communicated with. Jill is an Aries, and y'all know I'm a Libra, and I freaking appreciate the heck out of Jill because she is an Aries through and through, and I am a Libra through and through, and I strive to be more Jill like. And she, we both talk about that, but Jill gets stuff done. And if she does it and it's like, oh, shoot, I said this, but I didn't read through that all the way and did this. It's like, it's so Aries. And I'm like, it's no big deal. Like, at least you got it done. Just go back and say this, or we'll figure it out this way. What I love about her is she's not a time waster. No, she's always burning rubber. And like that's the energy of Aries. It's initiator energy that takes action, but thinking about the boldness of who you are, the brightness of yourself, and what are your bold, beautiful talents? When do you feel bold? I'm using that word, but when do you feel bold? Like when do you feel fiery and passionate? Look at that in your life, and how do you demonstrate that in your day to day? Like, when are you lit on fire, passionate, and bold? And then how do you include other people and inspire others through your boldness? With this new moon, and I was thinking about this when I was thinking about the eclipse and new moon in very practical ways around taking action and like clearing the path when I was talking about paving a new path, clearing the path. If you're in a job and it's toxic or you're tired of it or you've outgrown it or you don't love your boss and you've been complaining about your boss for 6 months or whatever your professional situation is, if that one is giving you consternation and grief, this is the new moon eclipse to rewrite your resume. And guess what? Like it's like just go home and start your new resume. Just start it. And guess what? The energy will support you between this eclipse and Venus and Mercury finishing up their retrograde to revise the resume, to ask somebody to help you revise your resume, to ask Chat GPT to do it. Whatever the heck you want to do, start the resume. Your action is not like telling your boss off or complaining again to your husband and your friends or whatever it may be. It's let me sit down and how can I be responsible for changing my feelings and my environment? I'm going to rewrite my resume. Stuff that none of us like to do. If it's health, if you are struggling right now with your health, and your body and something going on, what can you do right now to add wellness to your body? And whether it is as simple as drinking more water or going and getting a massage, or you're unhappy with the physician that is overseeing your care in your disease prognosis and what is happening, and you've been upset about it and you don't feel that you're getting that care, because we've all been in that white coat syndrome where we freeze, and I've done it before, and gosh, I've worked in healthcare and I've seen it happen. I've done it like I mean, all the things. But it's like if you got a feeling and you don't feel you're getting the care or the attention you need, research new places to go. Open those doors up, put your feelers out, take ownership over your own health, and also that your body can heal itself no matter what is going on. And I know that is scary. And if you are really suffering with something, first of all, my heart goes out to you and I'm beaming big healing of your cells and your DNA, and knowing that whatever that pain is something that can be turned into some kind of meaning, purpose, or wellness. Maybe remembering that you have a spark of the divine in you and being re-inspired on your healing journey because it's been so debilitating. So maybe it's just a re-inspirate, like a revitalization of your mind, even though you feel tired and diminished. And if it's around love and relationships, and you're either in a toxic relationship or unhealthy relationship for you and that person, or you're alone and you're single and you're like, "Ugh, when is my person?" Where can you change your mind and change your beliefs and then take healthy action? And if it's that you're single and you're just frustrated and annoyed and you want love, then gosh, this couldn't be a better new moon to really sit down and say, what kind of partner would bring me the greatest happiness, health, well-being, safety, security, joy, whatever it is that you're looking for, and then start to demonstrate those qualities yourself, because we will never attract what we are not embodying or transmitting. You cannot give away something you don't have, and it's really hard to receive it. So also the worthiness. I am deserving of a partner who fills XYZ qualities, unblocking your receptivity. And if you are in an unhealthy or a toxic relationship, what do you need to do to go get help and support, whether it's therapy or a support group or removing yourself from the scenario, taking a time out, anything that would take that bold action to initiate change because you never know what is in store. And I do know with relationships and toxic relationships and codependency and enabling and the insidiousness of that is for me, the biggest action is making the decision and then following it up with action and holding the line, holding the boundary, and having a support system around me that really is looking out for my well being and also allowing the other person their own healing journey too. And it's the roughest, right? It's the roughest, but it yields some of the highest rewards. And remember what we were saying about Neville Goddard, those obstacles are often fine tuning you for something greater. So think about it from that perspective. And if it's finances and money and you're just struggling to make ends meet, shoot, I get it. I've been there. And I tell you what, a lot of that has to do with deservability. Not, and I know if you're hustling and shucking and jiving, been there, done it, working so hard, like I got it. I've been there. Like I have panted a many a times and really had to get clear with myself around deserving abundance. And when I have that abundance and prosperity, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to hoard it? Am I going to get lazy? Am I going to squander it? Or am I going to divinely manage it? And am I going to give back and to be prudent? So if it is money, really recognizing that prosperity is your divine birthright. But if you are ready to accept that, that responsibility is great. And what can you do with it? So if money is a frustration, trust that you are worthy and you are enough. So I'm just giving those practical areas that are like touch points for all of us that we've all been through all of them, right? I'm like, okay, I've been there, done that, am there, where whatever it may be. But knowing that so much is taking practical, bold action here and initiating something, but also getting out of the dangerous neighborhood of your head because of Neptune being so exalted and Uranus kind of like electrifying us or shocking the heck out of us, it's going to be an uncomfortable new moon. And I tell you what, Aries is the fighter of the zodiac. So conflict ain't no thing with Aries. So if you ask yourself, is this a fight worth having? Is having this fight going to change anything? Is this my fight to be in? You know, and right now, like the fight for me, and it's not a fight, it's like, no, I want to grow and learn and heal. I want the cream to rise to the top. I don't need to live in that linear 3D, and it's separating and it's becoming more and more apparent. And I've had to make some really like difficult decisions emotionally with old behaviors of mine in setting boundaries and I tell you what, it's freaking hard because I'm like, what if somebody's mad or what? And it's like, you know what? Like, it's not, I'm not being true to myself. So, where can you be true to yourself? Take bold action and trust the universe and do it from a place of love and compassion. That's asking a lot, but just incorporate those things into your prayers. And remember where I started with this. I surrender to the mystery. I surrender to the mystery. I am suiting up, showing up. I am doing my part. I'm taking healthy action, but I am surrendering to the mystery of what is percolating and formulating right now. We are in incredible times, and you all are incredible humans. So, who said this stuff was going to be easy? We're in a big old quantum leap, and it feels that way. But just remember, the cream will rise to the top, and you, my friends, are cream. You are the cream of the crop, and you are worthy and loving. And I'm so grateful to be on this journey together. So I encourage all of you to definitely take time. If you've got the guidebook, you have some great journal prompts and reflections around, of course, Mercury and Venus retrograde and the eclipses and new moons and the crystal recommendations this month, use them. I have them both sitting right here on my desk and they're badass. And if you don't have the guidebook, like that's just part of the guidebook, but you can use your crystals and I have given you tons of journal prompts in this podcast. We've got so much great stuff working in the background to build community, offer more resources, and I'm just being patient with it and unfolding it a little bit at a time. But I thank you all for showing up. There's a great new moon and full moon ceremony that's available. We'll link those in the show notes. I have a full moon blog and a new moon blog. And those are, you can download the ceremony if you want to create a little ritual or ceremony for yourself. It's just an easy go to guide. But this is also a great moon. I would pull some oracle cards, and I think I'll do a follow-up episode on utilizing oracle cards, tarot, divination tools on a full or a new moon. That's something I've done, gosh, for 12 years. And I used to be really strict and ritualistic about it. And it's one of those tools in my toolkit that I find wickedly awakening, very practical. So I'll do a follow-up episode on utilizing oracle cards or the tarot during a full and a new moon and how to incorporate that into your ritual or ceremony, because I think you all will find it very helpful and fruitful, low-hanging fruit and fun and mystical, all the magic, all the things. All right, everyone, be well and navigate this eclipse and retrograde season like the cream rising to the top. Take care, everyone.